Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Healthcare Connector. Today we have on the call Miss Lorna Phillip. I am so glad to have you. She is my first international guest, so that means Healthcare Connector is not just in the U.S. We are so excited about that, and I'm excited to hear her story and what she's working on and how she's using her knowledge, skills, and expertise to better healthcare. So, Ms. Lorna, let's just jump right in and get started. Tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do, kind of all those good things.
Sure. Hi, Deanne, and thank you so much for asking me on. I feel quite honored to be here with you today.
Go.
And I love sharing what I do. So, yeah, I'm Lorna, otherwise known as Birmingham
Mm-hmm.
Doula. So, as the name suggests, I'm a doula. I'm a birth and postnatal doula based here in Birmingham, UK. And I have to say the UK bit because I sometimes get inquiries from pregnant people all the way in Birmingham, Alabama.
Exactly.
So, yeah, I wish I could go over and, assist, but I can't. So, yeah, I'm based in Birmingham. A doula is somebody who supports women and families through pregnancy and through childbirth and through the postpartum period. So I'm there as a lay person. I'm not a clinician. I'm not a midwife or a nurse or a doctor. So I don't do any kind of testing or assessing of people. It's more, emotional and practical care and support, you know?
I love it. I love it. And I feel like, at least over here in the U.S., people are starting to hear more and more about doulas. Can you tell us about your background and what it took for you to become a doula?
Yeah, sure. It's a long story because I'm kind of old. So I've been working with children and families now for over 30 years.
Wow.
Got a long
Mm-hmm.
career of working with children and families. I started off life as a nursery nurse, so working in the early years sector. I guess you call it kindergarten there
Mm-hmm.
in the US. Working with young children, supporting their families, in quite struggling circumstances these families were living in. And I kind of made my way up, working in family centres, working in children's services where there were safeguarding issues with families. And most recently, my most recent employed role was as a deputy manager of a program that assists families who are struggling, who are quite vulnerable.
Mm.
And I was the health coordinator
Okay.
and also deputy manager. So I would coordinate all of the project's family health activities, healthy
Mm-hmm.
eating for families, healthy eating in pregnancy, even baby massage.
Oh, okay.
And I used to teach baby massage. And I'd come along, so I'd run like a 4-week class, 4-week program for local moms and their babies. And they would come along week after week. And I was really struck with how they would retell their birth experiences and their birth stories over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
I'm there all keen at the front, trying to get the class underway. Like, come on now, let's get these strokes. Let's do this, let's do that. Lift your baby's leg, da 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 da.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, oh, but when I had my baby, oh my gosh, this happened. And even though I'd had 2 kids by that stage myself, I didn't really appreciate the importance of people's birth experiences and how it's really important that families are able to tell a good story
Mm-hmm.
about their birth experience. And it was then I heard about doulas, and it just kind of that little thing just in my ear, a little kind of seed was planted. Didn't think much of it. I had no intention then of training to become a doula. That was back in 2005 or thereabouts.
Mm-hmm.
And when I left that job and started something else, and then years later, I heard about doulas again. And I thought, oh, this is really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I should, maybe I should train to become a doula.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was 2012 that I trained, and I haven't looked back since. What I do is, I can't promise anybody a particular birth. I can't promise
Mm-hmm.
you're going to have a water birth with the birds tweeting and the roses blowing around the garden. What I can say, though, is that I'll support you to have a better birth experience. Research shows that having a doula on board through the pregnancy, through the birth, you will have a better chance of having a natural delivery, better chance of, less chance of interventions and C-sections, better breastfeeding rates, better, less depression postnatally. So it's it's a no-brainer to have a doula there to support you.
Yes, I agree. I definitely agree with you. And one thing that I heard you say that I just was going to chime in on is I don't think anyone can promise you a certain type of birthing experience. Like we, as a mom myself, we have this great plan, but sometimes things don't go according to plan. And I think one of the great things about a doula is just having that that support person there, so that if you have to adjust or you have to change, you have someone that is there to help you through that.
Again, people sometimes misunderstand the purpose behind a birth plan. It's not a plan that's set in stone. It's something where you explore, your options, your birthing options, a document that you can share with your caregivers to say, these are my preferences and wishes. And then on the day, you let your mind go and let birth just take place,
Yes. So next question that I have for you, because we were actually talking about doulas over dinner last night with a bunch of family, and wasn't even thinking about that I was going to have you, but we were talking about doulas, and I believe people still have a lot of misconceptions about having a doula, about having access to a doula, about them needing a doula. So what do you think is one of the misconceptions or something that you hear a lot about having a doula or utilizing a doula? Because I feel like there's a lot of like misinformation or just not enough information out there about the services.
Sure, I'm going to give you 3 myths, actually, 2 or 3. The first myth here in the UK, maybe not so much in the US, the first myth is that people assume that doulas are all white, middle-class women.
Yes.
All right? Yes, there's a lot of white, middle-class doulas here, but there are also black and brown doulas. There are also a couple of male doulas. So when I rock up to hospital with my clients, the midwives there assume that I am mom. I'm the baby's grandma. Even with my white and my Asian clients, I'm like, huh?
How does that work?
How can you see? Oh, mom. I'm like, how does that work? Come on. I've even got the word doula on my, my clothes. But they don't think that I'm black and big. And they assume I'm a volunteer as well. I'm a private doula, hired by the couple, paid by the couple. So they think I'm part of some kind of volunteer scheme. And anyway, that's that. Secondly, people assume that it's only, again, rich, white, middle-class people who hire doulas.
Yes.
Yeah? And so I have to say that's a total myth, because most of my clients for birth have been black and brown families. African/Caribbean families, and kind of the origins in the Caribbean or Africa, and also Asian families. So that's a big myth too. And you don't need to be super rich. Yes, we do charge our worth.
Of course.
But we often have things like payment plans. I offer gift vouchers. So, if your family and friends or work colleagues want to contribute towards the cost of your doula, they can do that quite easily. So it's not just for the rich and the white.
I think those same, and that is actually part of the conversation that we were having last night. Those are the same misconceptions that we have over here on the U.S. The biggest thing that came up was that cost factor, and how I have to have a lot of money, or again be super rich to be able to afford the services. But I think that most of the doulas that I have ran into lately, and I've had 2 others on the podcast, you all try to make services affordable. Yes, you have to charge your value, but like you said, that you offer options, be it payment plans or gift cards. And I love that idea of being able to contribute as a gift to someone's fund so that they can have a doula.
Absolutely. I mean, the thing is about contributing towards that as a gift. It's the kind of gift that keeps giving and giving and giving and giving. If you have a doula on board supporting you through the most important journey of your life.
Yes.
Okay. and you have a better or more positive birth experience, that has a knock-on effect for, for the person giving birth, for the partner, for the baby, for the bonding, for the family, for the community, and then for the wider world. Whereas when you are gifting things like the crib or the clothes, yes, they're nice and pretty and free.
Yeah.
But for how long do we use those things?
Not long. They go out really quick.
That's right. That's right.
Yes, I love that. And then the second myth you talked about, thinking that, there aren't any people of color that are doulas. And I know, especially here over in the U.S., more and more women are, especially women of color, are becoming doulas. And I feel like it is part of us going back to like our roots. So thinking back in the day, when people gave birth, they have that supportive person. And so your mom, your grandmom, your great auntie, whoever that person was in the community was there to support you through your birthing experience. And so I think, in my opinion, I feel like we're going back towards that. What do you think?
I agree 100% with you, Deanna. There's nothing new under the sun.
Yeah.
We've always had doulas. And when I talk to some of the elders, I love talking to our elders and listening to their stories around pregnancy and birth. And when I was sharing what I did with an elder in the community a few weeks back, and she was trying to get her head around it. And I said, I know, you're the bush nurse. And I'm like, yeah.
That's exactly what it is.
So we started to talk about, the bush nurses from back home. So she's Jamaican. My heritage is Jamaican as well. And we started talking about the bush nurse, that woman in the village who, when you're in labor, you would send somebody, you'd probably send a child to go and fetch her to come to you. And she would come and do her thing, and nobody really knew what she did in that room. The curtains were closed, the door was shut. She's doing her thing. She's got the water boiling on some kind of wood stove or on the coals or something.
Yeah.
And all you realize is, you're going to hear a baby crying soon, and then the bush nurse just, she cleans up the mum, and then she just gently disappears back to her own home.
Yes.
And that's a bit like what doulas do.
Exactly. I love, and like you said, there's nothing new up under the sun, and sometimes we get too far away from what has worked in the past. So I love kind of the journey of us going back towards that. I want to switch gears just a little bit, because now you're a business owner, and so you have your own company where you're offering these services. What has been, or tell us a little bit about that. What has it been like to now have your own company that is providing this service? Is that something that you knew that you want to do? Has it been hard? Talk to us about like the entrepreneurship part of it.
Sure. Well, this is actually my second kind of business.
Okay.
So obviously from day one, becoming a doula here, you are self-employed. It is a business, and that's one of the things. I also now teach new postnatal doulas, postpartum doulas.
Okay.
And so it's one of the things we teach on the course is, kind of some basic business skills, because yes, this is heart-led work. If you're not a massive money spinner, you can make a fairly good living out of this, but you need to realize that it is a business. You need to cover all your costs. You need to maybe looking at having a profit.
Yes.
And all that stuff that a lot of doulas that I know don't like talking about. They don't like talking about money. I love talking about money. I have no problems talking about money whatsoever. So yeah, you can combine the two. The heart and the hustle, the work, come together quite nicely. So it's my second business, very different from my very first business that I have, but I'm used to business.
Okay.
This is not anything new for me. And so it hasn't really been a challenge to kind of be a business person in the birth world.
Okay. Well, I love that, because like you said, I think, not just in the birth world, but for any of us that are like in health and wellness and are trying to move into owning your own business, there are a lot of like obstacles or lessons that you can only learn by going through it. Like a book can't teach you. They don't teach you that in school. Even if you go get a business degree, there are just some things you got to learn by being the business owner. What's something that you have learned through having your own business?
Okay, one of the things I've learned is, apart from charging my worth, because I'll tell you a quick story. There was a time when I didn't charge my worth, actually, and I was broke.
Yes.
I was like I went to a birth, and I'm there. I've driven my car. I'm in the hospital car park, and half of my mind is on my client who's there giving birth, but the other half is on the car park fees, thinking, oh gosh, this birth is taking a long time. Can I afford to get my car out of the car park? That was a real good lesson for me, because I never wanted to feel that way again. I never wanted to split my attention between my client and my car parking fees. My mind should be 110% on my client during labor, not on my car and can I afford to get out. So that was a good lesson for me, for sure. Another lesson is don't let friends and family put you off. Yeah.
Yes.
A lot of people will kind of say to me like, oh, but my mom said it's a waste of time, or my cousin said, oh, I should get a proper job because being a doula or being a whatever and being your own boss is not the way forward. It's going to be really hard. You won't pay your bills. You need to make sure that you're mixing with like-minded people and gaining strength and gaining inspiration from like-minded people, because oftentimes family, not out of malice normally, it's normally out of care for you and concern for you, they can sometimes put you off forming a business for yourself. So mix with people who get it.
Yes, I love that piece of advice. I was posting earlier today, and it was a meme that was about it said something like, your mom, the mom is giving the person the side eye, looking like they're crazy because you're going to leave your good job to do what? And so what I had down in the post is that sometimes there'll be people that don't understand your vision or don't understand this business idea that you have. And so it's important, like you said, to surround yourself with people who are or have that mixture of people around you that are like-minded, that are supportive of that idea. Like you said, a lot of times it's not out of malice or anything, but maybe they've just never had a business before, or maybe they don't have that entrepreneurial mindset.
Yeah, and to help people understand, you need to behave like the business person, the businesswoman.
Yes.
Yeah, because I work from home, and when I first started working from home, people would kind of say, yeah, can I come pop round and have a cup of tea or have coffee with you? But I'm like, I'm working.
Yes.
So you've got to put the boundaries in. Just because you're at home doesn't mean you're sat up with your feet up watching Netflix all day. So, you've got to behave and treat yourself seriously and your business seriously for others to treat you seriously too.
Great. That's another gem right there, maintaining your boundaries. You all that are listening, that Lorna just said, you have to put those boundaries up and explain those to people, because I've worked from home for a long time too, and people just automatically assume that my days were free or that I could just get up and leave and do whatever at any moment. But if you have that business mind, you are putting up those boundaries and having that set schedule. Next question that I have for you. So when did you first become passionate about being in this field of birthing or being a doula?
I think it was maybe after attending my first few births. So again, I did the training. I've got a background in health, so I know the kind of physiology of the body and how it works. But how that support that you offer can impact somebody so deeply, Deanne. I didn't know until you see the tears and the hugging up of, oh Lord, I can't believe we've done it. Like, I didn't push that baby out. You did the work. But just that kind of gratitude and the way that parents feel when they feel fully supported, that's the moment I knew when this this work is really crucial and powerful.
Yes, and envious of you. You get to be a part of a person's like journey at that very special moment. And I think you mentioned it earlier, like people never forget their birth story and what that was like. The person going through it doesn't forget. And so you get to be a part of that and help make that hopefully, a better or story than they may have had without having that support there. What?
Yeah, people don't forget. I've been to networking events where I've had women who are in their 60s and 70s. And when I tell them what they do and I explain it, you can see a kind of thing, a kind of a thoughts going on in their head. And then they catch you later on in that networking room and tap you on the shoulder. And I'm like, yeah? I'm like, oh, let me tell you about my birth, they say.
Yeah.
And they gave birth a long time ago, but they still remember it.
They still remember it. Yes, definitely. So what, and maybe I already know this because you kind of touched on this a little bit. What motivates you to get up in the morning and go to work? So, and go and do this role?
Yeah, so actually, as from August of this year, Deanne, I actually hung up my birth doula hat. So I
Okay.
no longer attend births.
Mm-hmm.
What I have done, I've transitioned over to something a little bit different. So I've started a community of Black pregnant women called Black Mama's Birth Village.
Mm.
And so what we do there is I share the doula love. So I know that not everybody can hire a doula. So what I do in the community is we get together online. I share the resources that I would normally use with my private clients.
Mm-hmm.
So my kind of birth plan and postpartum plan templates and all the information about pregnancy and birth. And I offer some Zoom sessions with them. This weekend we're doing child and baby first aid as a group. Because we know that, I know here in the UK and I know also in the US, Black women have pretty poor birth outcomes when compared to white women. So I'm doing my bit.
Yes.
I wanted to reach more people. I couldn't physically take on any more births. I was a very, very busy birth doula towards the end of my career. I couldn't physically do any more. So I thought, let's go online. Let's take it all online. And that's what I'm doing right now.
I love that because you have just, by doing that, you have opened up access to this service that most people that I have talked with, and even for myself when, was pregnant with my last child, didn't know that was available or didn't think I would have access to it. So now it seems like it's, no excuses because there's this community of people out there. And I would say, and you tell me if I'm wrong or chime in on this, you're giving out the resources, so that's good, but there also got to be a piece of like community and connectedness that you're also creating.
Absolutely that. You spot on with that. I know what it is to obviously to give birth without that community. I had my children a long time ago and I wasn't part of a community. So I know the impact that having a sisterhood can have on your journey.
Yes.
And you need a tribe of sisters who understand you, who get it. Okay, because again, in the birth world, out there on Facebook, the groups that I see, the birth groups, the pregnancy groups, it's mostly white mamas in there, which is cool. You have the Black mamas too, but we're either missing from the conversation. I don't see them kind of pipe up with questions or things they want to add to the group verbally.
Yes.
And, and I say, why is that? Why is that? Because oftentimes we don't feel safe. We don't feel safe to reveal ourselves, to ask the questions, to make the statements. We don't feel understood. We feel judged, So in this group, what they're telling me, I asked them, how are you feeling about being part of Black Mama's Birth Village? They tell me it feels like a sisterhood.
Yes.
We feel safe to talk. We're not questioned about things. I have African mamas who say, yeah, next week we've got our naming ceremony for the baby. And nobody says, oh my gosh, what's that? Oh my gosh. It's literally, oh, how wonderful, how beautiful. and we celebrate each other, which I love.
Yes, I love it too, just because, creating a space where people can come and be their authentic selves and feel safe enough to ask the questions, make the comments, and like you said, no one's going to like question like, what are you talking about? Or like, what do you mean by that? Because it's other people that look like you and talk like you and sound like you. So that's amazing. What do you see as the biggest challenge facing you in the next couple of years, or is there one for yourself and for your company in that community?
Yeah, it's the development of it. I've got it all mapped out
Mm-hmm.
in my mind. I'm part of a number of mastermind
Mm-hmm.
groups and what have you, and I'm just taking on a new coach. I guess for me, it's something around. I don't know. I sometimes feel like, oh, can I do it? I
Yes.
have the kind of a lack of confidence sometimes. Even though I might come across as very confident, I sometimes lack the
Mm-hmm.
confidence. And I think, can I make these plans come to fruition? Can I do it? Can I do it? Can I do it? And it's scary.
Yes.
But I have big plans for the community. I'm going to make it also into a membership, so you have the almost the free element and still have the resources. You have a little bit of me for those who want more of me and more support and more kind of individualized kind of care. I'm going to develop a membership. So that's kind of ongoing. I'm just doing the site right now and doing all of the tech and everything. But I sometimes lack self-confidence, and that's my biggest challenge.
I've recorded several episodes now, and that bit of like confidence and should I be doing this or who am I to do this has been a reoccurring theme amongst all the women of color that are like really doing some amazing things. And so that's part of the reason why I wanted to have this podcast, so that other people will see that we all struggle with the same thing, even though we are so talented, even though you're so smart and so educated and have been doing this for so many years. We all at times still struggle with that confidence piece on, should we be doing this?
Yeah, yeah, it can really hold you back.
Yes. But I'm glad that you've made that first step, and that I heard that you've chosen to invest in yourself by getting a coach and by getting, doing masterminds. How important has it been for you to invest in your own, like, continued education in order to bring this community and your business to fruition?
Oh, so important, and for different reasons. Yes, there's the knowledge kind of aspect, how to, the tech,
Mm-hmm.
the automations, all the processes. There's that element, but also again going back to the sisterhood.
Yes.
So this mastermind I'm part of is a woman-only mastermind group. And it's about having other people, again, who look like you, who are having very similar issues, and celebrating each other as well when we kind of, have successes. That's a huge thing, to know
Mm-hmm.
that you're not alone in this. There are other people, and you take your inspiration from people who are having some great successes, or who are having kind of down days, and we try and lift each other up. So yeah, that's been so helpful to me.
Yes, I love it. Okay. Question I always like to ask people: if you could go back in time to your teenage self or early adulthood self, what would be a piece of advice that you would give to the younger Lorna?
Ooh, that's a good one.
Mhm.
Um, hmm. Do you know what I'm gonna say? Lorna, you should have been more discerning when it came to guys. You
Yes,
should have
like,
been
yeah,
more discerning.
we can all tell ourselves that, right?
I made some huge mistakes.
Hey, it's all a part of the journey, though. That
Part
got
of
us.
growing up.
That got us the Lorna that we have right here today, though. So,
It's so true. It made me who I am today. So I'm thankful for it. But yeah, I'm like, ooh, that wasn't such a good idea.
right, yeah, that's the funny part about why I ask this question, because it's always funny to ask people, okay, what would I have told myself? But so I like that one, that discernment. Okay, now let's fast forward. Where is Lorna and Lorna's, business community 10 years from now?
10 years from now, I'm hoping I'll putting my feet up in the Caribbean
Oh,
somewhere,
yes.
to be honest. I want to leave a legacy. I want to build it to a state where it's a legacy that I can say, okay, time to bow out now. Job well done, Lorna. It's my little kind of, yeah, I've done it. So I want it to be of great benefit to as many, many, many Black women as possible and families. I want to develop it so we also bring in an element for the partners as well, because they're really important, obviously, in the pregnancy and parenting journey. But yeah, I really want to see myself kind of retired and just maybe doing a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Maybe I might go to the odd birth every now and again if I felt like it. But I want to retire.
Well, I believe it.
Yeah.
I believe, I definitely believe you're going to retire. But I also believe that what you are doing is also creating this legacy, and this community that you're building that is very much needed is something that, will live on way longer than Lorna. And so I think that is very special. How can our listeners, how can we support what you are doing?
Okay, well, you could follow me on Instagram and give me a little hello first of all, or a DM. So you can find me. I've got 2 accounts. I've actually got 3, but I'll give you the 2 accounts. You can find me at Birmingham Doula. So Birmingham, and then Doula is Doula. Or you can find me at Black_mamas, MAMAS_birth_village. Those are both on Instagram. So come and say hi.
Yeah.
Come and say hi. I also have some American mamas in my group. I had somebody from Utah who joined only 2 days ago. So you're more than welcome to come.
Oh, I love that. So you all, our listeners, please go when you're hearing this episode and blow up Lorna's 2 Instagram pages. We will put the IG handles in our notes and when we post for this. And then also, if you share the word, so if you know other women, especially women of color who are pregnant or thinking about having a child like this, make sure they know about this community. I wish I would have known about this community when I was pregnant. And so let's spread the word. Thank you, Lorna, for being a guest on our show. I wish you so much success in what you are doing, because it is so, so, so very needed.
You're welcome, Deanne. I really enjoyed sharing with you, and I hope the listeners found it helpful too.
Definitely. Okay. Thank you all. This has been another episode of the Healthcare Connector. Today we connected you all with Lorna Phillip, who is doing her part to make sure that women and women of color have access to the birthing services that they deserve, so that you can have your own great birthing story. So make sure you connect with her, and we'll be back with another episode with another woman or person of color who's doing something unique and different in healthcare. Thank you all, and have a good day.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Okay. Oops.